speaker is Mr. G.I.M Liyanage. He is an LLB honors graduate from the University of Lankan, and he is also an engineer law from Sri Lanka. And currently he is working as a lecturer in law at the Department of Law, Faculty of Law of the General Sejong Defense University, Sri Lanka. His research interests include public and international law. He has also done research in the area of public and international law and presented papers in national and international conferences. His theme of his presentation is significance of the principle of environmental justice in the protection of environment, Sri Lankan experience.
Significance of the principle of environmental justice in the protection of the environment, and special reference will be focused for the Sri Lankan experience. Before moving to my presentation, I would like to draw your attention into the outline of the presentation. This is the outline of the presentation. It comes with an introduction, objectives, methodology, and about principles, and international and the Sri Lankan framework, and the conclusion and suggestions. Environment is a word actually we can say that derived from the French word of environment, meaning to encircle by broadly applying surrounding. Environment can include the aggregates of natural, social and cultural conditions that influence the life of an individual or community. This environment has been threatened in current scenarios because of policymakers' decision and because of some human activities like this. So therefore, there's a huge issue with regard to the protection of environment, especially the environmental resources. Therefore, this has been identified by international environmental scholars and have identified they have introduced two types of environmental principles. Basically, we can identify all principles and the new principles. All principles consist of a number of principles such as state sovereignty, neighborhood principles, state responsibility, like that. And also the new principles are consist of the very cardinal principles which has been identified in the area of international law, pollution principle, intergenerational equity principle, and also the sustainability. And very newly identified principle is the principle of environmental justice. So in my presentation, the research, with the research, I am trying to see the validity of the principle of environmental justice in order to protect the environment, and further to assess the status of the applicability of the principle through the Superior Court interpretation of the Sri Lanka. The methodology which I have used to the research is actually this totally test research based on a literature review. I have used a number of secondary sources such as statutes, textbooks, electronic databases, journals, etc. And I have made a special reference to Sri Lankan Supreme Court decisions, and also the research analyzed the jurisprudence of environmental law as So what is the principle of environmental justice? The principle of environmental justice is a very recently identified principle by the American scholars through their investigations and through their research. The principle of environmental justice has been identified as it seeks to ensure that the authority fairly allocates and regulates scarce resources to ensure that the benefits of environmental resources and costs associated with protecting them and any degradation and occurs, all the benefits and burdens are equally shared by all members of the society. So this is the most important part of the principle of environmental justice. And also, according to the United States Environmental Protection Agency, deals with the environmental protection, and according to them, environmental justice means fair treatment and meaningful involvement of all people in the development, implementation, and enforcement of environmental laws, regulations, and policies. So, this is a very important environmental law principles not only to protect the environmental resources but also to give access for such resources. This is a very important case which the principle has been discussed in a United States case dealing with the Southwestern Waste Management Corporation. In this case, the corporation has tried to dump some of the garbage in an area where poor people live. So that was the issue. In the court, when it comes to the decision, they focus on three elements. They check whether this has whether the waste has dumped in the area or in the area of black people. And they have checked whether they have taken any necessary precaution principles and any environmental protection mechanism, and they check whether there is any environmental approval to dump those wastage. So they have identified neither of them has been taken. Therefore, the court has held that was an environmental injustice if you are granting the approval to dump the wastage in that poor or black people's area. So this was a case in the United States which this principle has been hardly discussed. And throughout the research I have identified three elements of the principle of environmental justice. One is fair treatment, equal protection and public participation. Actually, fair treatment and equal protection is equally connected. Basically, because of the non-discrimination in the area of environmental protection and access to such resources. The most important element in this principle is the public participation. These are some of the cases which I have identified from 1995 to 2004, which in the United States courts have been identified this principle. But I would like to draw attention to both case of Cox versus City of Dallas. This case has been occurred in the area of the Dallas. In this area, the Dallas City Council tried to introduce waste dumping area to this place, and this area was actually initially dominated and black people were living in this area. So they filed a case against this authority, and the court has focused for one element apart from the element which I discussed previously. The court has focused on the intention of the corporation. They said we have to see whether they intentionally placed this wastage, dumping wastage area to discriminate such black or the poor people. So they have developed the elements of the principle in the City of Dallas case. Actually, from the principle of environmental justice, we can say that it focuses from one area to protect environment. It basically deals with the balance of ecological system. So the principle of environmental justice is connected with ecological system. If the principle is not protected, then the ecological imbalance will be occurred. So through the ecological imbalance, air concerns, soil concerns, water concerns, and also noise concerns can also occur. I will explain these concerns throughout the Sri Lankan experience in the future slides. Now we focus the international framework. Basically, I would like to draw attention to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. In Sri Lankan, it discussed that whereas recognition of inherent dignity and of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and the peace of the world. So it says all are equal and all have the equal right of protect and justice and peace should be there. Apart from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, we can't find a key and significant international tool to identify or to introduce the principle of environmental justice. But this was adopted as the first National People Color Environmental Leadership Summit, which is held in USA in 1991. This was held in the city of Washington, D.C. and throughout the summit they introduced 7 principles for the establishment of the principle of environmental justice. So they have actually broadened the area of environmental justice into 17 areas. In here, I would like to draw attention to 2 principles, Principle 1 and Principle 3. In the Principle 1, it says, environmental justice affirms the sacredness of Mother Earth, ecological unity, and the interdependency of all species, and the right to be free from ecological disruption. It simply says the importance of environmental justice and the connection and unity of ecology and its interdependence of all species. And also the principle 3 says that environmental justice mandates the right to ethical balance and the responsible use of land and renewable resources in the interest of the sustainable planet. So the ultimately for have a sustainable planet, sustainable planet, the principle of environmental justice gives a very good avenue and it offers a very broad aspect. Apart from the previous international US tools, I would like to draw attention to the Stockholm Declaration and Rio Declaration. In Stockholm Declaration, basically, there are two principles that is very important, especially the principle 1 and the principle 22 of the Stockholm Declaration. Principle 22 says, states shall cooperate to develop further the international law regarding liability and compensation of victims of pollution and other environmental damage caused by activities within the jurisdiction of or control of such states to areas beyond jurisdiction. It means it clearly says that if any group of people were harmed because of this environmental damages caused by human activities or something due to policy makers' decisions, then they need to be compensated. And also the principle 2 of the Rio Declaration also very important. Apart from the Rio and Stockholm Declaration, I would like to discuss also ICCPR, International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. In this convention, this is about equality, especially the ICCPR also discuss about equality rights. When it comes to Sri Lankan experience, I have identified the 4 areas which this principle has been actually like sort of violated. The blue mental garbage mountain in this area, most of the people are affected due to the garbage dumping, because not only they are familiar, sometimes children have got affected number of diseases. Those diseases are not in a position to identify because everything happens because of the environmental pollution, environmental injustice is there. And also sometimes when you are locating factories, some of the policy decisions are just try to make happy the investors. They are just giving some land without doing some checks. So when you are locating these factories nearby the villages or towns, so I think very recently this sort of incident happened in the area of Anuradhapura. So the water has been contaminated, polluted. Because of that, people got violent. Actually, they were vulnerable. So that is because of the environmental injustice. And also the waterways and the waterways issue. In the waterways issue, previously that land was a land which is owned by the government, but they have given it to a private corporation. After this agreement, they need to take a sort of like membership. That membership costs 250,000. So it demarcates rich and poor. Same thing happens to the government case. And when it comes to Sri Lankan legal framework, in the 1978 Constitution, in the Article 12, it discusses about equality. And especially I would like to go to this section. Article 27 sub 14 says, as a state, it has a duty to preserve, protect and promote the environment for the future generation. And also in National Environmental Act is a key and cardinal tool with regard to the environmental protection. In this, they have introduced licensing. If you want to open a factory or you want to have garbage dumping here, you have to take the license. And also, it discusses about the environmental quality and the pollution. In the Sri Lankan cases, these are very important case laws. In the Lankan case law, actually it is a case where the environmental injustice has been identified in an indirect way. In the decision of the Justice Amartya, he discussed about the principle of environmental justice. But throughout this interpretation, we can identify some elements of the environmental justice has been discussed in this case. And in conclusion, I would like to say, in Sri Lanka, there are some certain circumstances where we can find that environmental injustice can be happened. But due to some people's protest and because of their vulnerability, they compel to some protest. So in that scenario, government or the policy decision makers, they have changed their decision. Suggestion, actually, the main suggestion is that we have to give more effective to the public participation. If the public are given more knowledge about this project or decision, then they can have a good effective system. Basically, I am introducing the community government. Thank you.